What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick podcast. This show can be found on Sherdog.com. That's the sign back there. That's my handle on social media. If you're listening to this, you already know about Sherdog.com. Pretty cool website. You should check it out sometime if you haven't. And we don't have a ton to talk about, especially coming off of that UFC 296 main event. I'm just waking up. I've been asleep. It made me so tired. Just kidding. This may or may not be the last episode of 2023. So thank you all for getting at least here with me. It's been a wild ride this year. We're going to go ahead and just kick off the show. This whole show is just going to be really a breakdown of 296 because there's not a ton coming up that I want to talk about. Leon Edwards defeats Colby Covington via unanimous decision in a really weird, really bad fight. I don't know what. I mean, my phone was blowing up during the whole main event. At least 5 or 6 friends of mine reaching out. What's going on with Colby? What's wrong with him? I don't know. He did everything right up until the fight, besides fight. For a guy that showed up as like Paul Revere or something, I mean, the dude basically wore a Halloween costume to the press conference. Was it funny? A little bit. But for a guy that basically wore a Halloween costume to the press conference to show up and fight the way he did, I'm just not too sure what his game plan was. His corner, terrible. And we should talk about Leon Edwards, who won the fight. But man, I don't know what Colby's issue was. It looked like he said he had some ring rust. He thought he won 3, 4, and 5. There's just, I mean, I could see him winning the 5th, maybe with the 3rd round. You could, or no, but Colby Covington did not win this fight. And he literally handed Leon Edwards the perfect Leon Edwards fight. And almost shame on Leon for not really going after a guy that the way Leon lost the 5th round too, it was very strange because he got 2 takedowns on Colby and he said, "Well, I wanted to show my wrestling and show that I could take this guy down." But you let him take you down and win the 5th round. Colby did not win any fans this week with his comments about Leon Edwards' father. And then he definitely didn't win any fans if he had any already after this. I picked Colby Covington going into this fight. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Um, I thought all of the rounds would look like the 5th round. When Colby went for it, when Colby pressed the action, he got entries and got takedowns. He just did not fight for the first 3.5 rounds of this fight. He was way too willing to take the back foot. Leon Edwards didn't do anything damaging enough. He said in the post-fight interview in the cage, "Oh, I don't have a scratch on my face," when his nose is like clearly busted up and leaking. Obviously, he's still playing a game. But for a guy that just fainted, Leon Edwards didn't do anything besides throw feints and cut the cage pretty well and take the front foot, but he didn't do anything that demanded Colby respect him and allow him to take the front foot, which is really weird because Colby is usually a forward pressuring guy. He's on the front foot. He's mixing chain wrestling, grinding people against the cage, taking them down, wash and repeat, just kind of putting them through the basically like something tumbling in a dryer, just taken down, get back up, taken down, get back up, taken down, get back up. He didn't do that to Leon. And this fight, you can almost ball it up and throw it away, in my opinion, when it comes to like how great is Leon Edwards. This didn't convince me at all. And I'm not a Leon Edwards hater, but I'm also not a Leon Edwards stan. I'm kind of in between both, where he won the first round of the second Kamaru Usman fight pretty clearly, lost 3 rounds, was on his way to losing the 5th, and lands a head kick. Perfectly executed. Landed a great head kick. Fought him a 3rd time, and Usman did not look great. Usman looked tepid. It was the first time Usman ever been knocked out, and Usman's a guy that had been hurt a bunch in his career. And then I'm on the fence where I'm like, is he catching these legends at the perfect timing, or is Leon Edwards this good? I just don't know. He's on like a crazy fight win streak, but all of his fights look just like this. Even his Nate Diaz fight, he was on his way to winning the most clear decision and almost gets finished in the 5th round by Nate Diaz. I'm just not convinced about Leon Edwards yet. I don't know what it's going to take. Is it going to be a win over Bilal Muhammad? Is it going to be a win over Shavkat Rakhmonov? I'm not too sure. Leon did what he had to do to win this fight. His feints look good. His striking looks sharp. He did get takedowns against Colby. It's not like he got any ground control or anything. It was almost just doing it to say he did it. But this didn't win. This didn't give me anything to take away from besides Colby really fought like shit. He must have been injured, or maybe, you know, the soul of Leon Edwards' dad possessed Colby Covington and made him not fight. I don't feel like Leon Edwards is this impregnable champion. I do feel like guys like Shavkat Rakhmonov or someone that can just change the pace. But what Leon Edwards has done, and has done incredibly well, is he's taken these guys like Bilal. I mean, he injured Bilal, but Usman, Covington, these pace fighters, these guys that are just going. He's made all these fights happen, you know, in his realm at his pace. So he's clearly doing something that maybe I'm not seeing. Maybe it's his opponents. I'm not sure, but everyone he's fought up until now on this crazy streak, he's forced them to have his fight. Are they close? Yes. But is he winning? Also, yes. Is he winning fans? No, but they can just in the UK, and any of my UK listeners know this. In the UK, they don't they almost seem to just be happy that someone is a champion. They can win a bunch of snoozers and still be okay with it. Here, I'm in the United States. We are terrible MMA fans here. You lose a fight, you're getting pushed off the tracks. So in the UK, this dude can still be a star. Look at Paddy Pimblett. He's winning fights over guys like Tony Ferguson, and he's still a star over there. Good on Leon. In the post-fight press conference, they asked him, who does he want to fight next? They brought up Bilal. He said that guy can wait. He wasn't interested in fighting Bilal Muhammad. They asked Dana. Dana is a guy that will always say, you know, we don't make fights on fight night. And then other times he'll say, this is the fight that's going to happen. He is the next person to fight for the title, or she is the next person to fight for the title. So Dana basically said, I don't know about Bilal Muhammad. I'm not ready to talk about it. I don't know what they would do with a Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards fight. I don't know where they put it. Maybe like third from the top on a crazy UFC 300 type card. But neither one of these guys have done anything to make me excited about a fight between them both. At least I know with Bilal Muhammad, but like look at Bilal Muhammad's fight with Sean Brady. I thought that was an amazing performance. He went out there and killed the dude with pace. Maybe he can bring that pressure and that pace to Leon Edwards and actually force Leon Edwards to fight a faster, less tepid fight. But if you're in the UFC welterweight division and you are going to be matched with a guy like Leon Edwards and you're getting a title fight, just know a champion like Leon Edwards, he's going to take that same road. He's going to take that same road that GSP did. He's going to take that same road that John Jones did towards the end of his 205 run, where like, hey, these fights may be close, but I'm going to do what it takes to win. I don't care about winning fans over. And I don't think Leon Edwards cares about winning fans over. I think he cares about winning fights. And that's fine. Not everybody goes on a Khabib Nurmagomedov championship run or a Charles Oliveira championship run. It's MMA at the highest level. There comes a point where not everyone's going to be finishing fights. So good for Leon Edwards. He makes his pay-per-view money off of Colby Covington. Colby Covington definitely sold this fight. Colby Covington looked like shit. He looks like he's 35. Dana said he looks slow and old. I agree. I think Colby could have done more to win this fight. I think this is very reminiscent of Colby's rematch with Usman, where Colby lost the first 2 rounds just out of not doing anything. And Colby's thing is to do things. Colby Covington wins fights because he's always doing stuff. He's doing so much stuff that he's making his opponents not be able to do stuff. And he's just not doing stuff anymore. It's taking him too long to get going. MMA Masters is not doing well for him. His corner was not giving him clear and concise information. They weren't telling him what he needs to do. After the first round, they should have told him, Colby, you need to get your ass going, bud. You need to put the gas pedal to the floor. That's how you win fights. And maybe he just doesn't have that ability. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he had done so much talking and he realized this is my last chance to fight for a title. Maybe he underestimated Leon Edwards. All the above. Could be any of those things. Colby Covington said he wanted to fight Wonder Boy in the post-fight press conference. They brought up Shavkat, the media. I forget who it was. Someone said, what do you think about Shavkat? He said no. He shot it down right away. I don't freaking blame him. Colby is probably the smallest welterweight on the roster. He's a dude that, quite frankly, could have been fighting at 55. And bringing up a guy like Shavkat, 18 wins, 18 finishes, he doesn't want that smoke. And honestly, I think him and Wonder Boy does make sense. The Wonder Boy that showed up with that takedown defense against Shavkat and the Colby Covington that showed up on Saturday night, Wonder Boy has a lot of chances there, man. Wonder Boy will go for things on the feet. He will not fight a tepid fight. If you allow him to go, he will go. Leon Edwards, Islam Makhachev was, and we're going to talk about Islam here for just a second. Islam Makhachev said, you guys don't want champions that fight like this. Give me a shot at this. I think if Islam goes out there and gets another win, he could definitely go up and challenge someone like Leon Edwards. And I'll tell you right now, Islam Makhachev is not going to allow Leon Edwards to have this very tepid, slow-paced fight. He's going to go try to do things. So that could be interesting. Besides that, it's either Shavkat or Belal. I think Shavkat would be more interesting for the fans. I think Belal is clearly more deserving. Doesn't matter either way. I think Shavkat is probably the most dangerous fight for Leon, because Shavkat will also just not, he will do things. He will turn up his volume. He will try to press his game, whether it be striking or grappling. And honestly, Belal could do the same. And after last Saturday night, I don't know if I'd favor Leon to beat either one of them. Maybe I'm just a hater. You tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm right. Maybe you agree with me. Who knows? Interesting fight. Didn't move the needle too much for any of us and left a little bit of a sour taste in our mouths for the final event of the year, but could be worse. Moving on to the co-main event of the night, we had Alexandre Pantoja getting a pretty clear dominant win over Brendan Royval. Again, I got this fight wrong too. I thought Royval would definitely be able to keep the scrambles going and be able to keep the fight on the feet a little bit more. But Pantoja is just a little Tasmanian devil. The dude went out there and I was like, this dude's going to flag. He's going to gas in 2 rounds if he pushes his pace. Nope. Even in the 5th round, he started getting tuned up, but he still had an answer. Even if it wasn't the best answer, in the 5th round, he started kicking the legs. At least Pantoja is a guy at 125 that's not the youngest dude, but he fights such a young man's game. He is so reliant on his durability, so reliant on his pressure, his power, even on the feet when they're exchanging. Royval may land, 3, 4, 5 shots on him, and then he just clubs Royval with a super hard shot and puts him on skates. He hurt Royval multiple times. There was one shot he wobbled him, and then Royval slipped on the monster logo. They need to do something about that monster logo. That thing seems like a sheet of ice. I don't know why people slip on it. Maybe there's blood. Who knows? But dudes hit that monster logo in the middle of the cage, and it's like a banana peel. It's like you ran over a banana in Mario Kart. It's almost funny. how it just continues to happen. They don't do anything about it. But Royval gave up takedowns. He's got to be the easiest flyweight to take down. The dude gave up an absurd amount of takedowns, and he didn't get submitted. And Pantoja, the way this dude slices through people's guards and gets into full mount, the way he takes people's backs and locks in that body triangle, he's a really good grappler. He's got tons of power. He's high volume. He does everything with so much force and strength and technique. Um, he his grappling style, the way he's able to just be dominant and slice through people, it's somewhat reminiscent of a Khabib Nurmagomedov. He doesn't have the ground and pound, but just the way he slices through people's guard, he uses technique and power. You know, kind of like how just Duplessis was just slicing through Whitaker's guard, just crushing Royval, winning all the scrambles, winning all the grappling, winning most of the fight on the feet. Royval did have some moments on the feet. He was landing some decent boxing, but he just couldn't stop the takedowns. There's nothing that he could do. This is their second fight. He got submitted in the first one, so he did make improvements. Royval clearly is, or sorry, Pantoja is also clearly making improvements here. He looks really, really good. Retained, won the belt over Moreno in a very close fight. It's men's flyweight. All these fights are going to be high paced, super entertaining, and super close. That just is what it is. And you're going to have a round robin where these guys are fighting each other over and over again just because of the division itself. But man, Pantoja looks really good. I am not too sure who on the roster right now is going to be able to. Brandon Moreno might be the worst matchup for him, and he's already beat him. I just don't know. You got guys like Car France and Amir Albazi, but Amir Albazi is way too low volume to keep up with Pantoja, in my opinion. I think Moreno is probably the worst matchup for Pantoja in the division right now. And Pantoja's back control game, like he takes people down. His ability to, he is not just getting into full mount and laying and praying, peppering you with small shots. Like this dude is slicing through people's guards, beating them up with ground and pound, going for submissions. When he gets control over someone on the ground, it is full on control. It is either he takes your back and gets the body triangle in like that, or he takes you down, gets into side mount, slices into full mount, and he holds you there and punches you a lot. Flyweights are great scramblers. And Royval is a good scrambler. Royval was able to get out of multiple bad, sticky situations. But yeah, man, Pantoja, his pace, his tenacity, he's one of the most tenacious and just, I described him as rabid. The dude literally fights just like a rabid chihuahua. He's so insane. He's so much fun. And now that he has defeated his deadbeat dad in his fight against Moreno, now he is defending the belt. He's looking great. They asked him who he wants to fight next, and he basically, he called out the whole entire flyweight division. They named a name. He said, I like it. He said, they're great. I like a champion like that. He's kind of doing the exact opposite thing as Leon Edwards, where he's, saying, hey, give me this fighter. Give me this fighter. They're all fun fights. I want to fight them all. So good for him. Pantoja's dope. I love me some Brandon Moreno and I love me some flyweights, but you can't be mad at a guy like Pantoja. He's just awesome. One more step down the card, we have Laura Sanko's favorite fighter, Shavkat Rakhmonov, versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Shavkat won that fight via second round submission, and I did kind of talk some shit about Shavkat in the Sherdog Slack chat, and I appreciate for anyone in there that was quick to check me and say, well, who has Stephen Thompson been submitted by? The answer is no one. And they're right, and I'm wrong. This was an impressive performance. The first round was pretty slow pace, but once he got Thompson down, the net cranks. The way Shavkat chases, finishes, the dude just screams violence. And he fought this fight smart. Bilal Muhammad took this guy down, rinse and repeat over and over again for multiple rounds, couldn't do anything with it. Gilbert Burns, multiple time world BJJ champion, taking down Thompson over and over again and couldn't do anything with him. Shavkat in just one scramble on the ground, it's about squeezing this dude's head off. This was super impressive. Wonder Boy looked really good. You could tell Wonder Boy really, really took this camp super seriously. Really, really. I mean, I was saying going into this fight, I picked Shavkat because you have to. He was a major, biggest favorite on the card, second biggest favorite on the card. But you had to pick Shavkat going into this fight. His tenacity, his willingness to strike on the feet, his power, and his grappling. He can do everything. He's got 18 wins, 18 finishes. He's almost just like the uncrowned champion at this point. Yeah, the grimace on Wonder Boy's face during those neck cranks where he looked like he hated it. He looked like he didn't want to be there anymore. And it sucks to see someone as nice and kind as Wonder Boy. He's such a good dude to go through to have to fight Shavkat. He was thinking, I beat this dude and I fight for a title. So that probably means Shavkat should be fighting for a title. Not much to say about the first round of this fight. Shavkat had a lot of cage control, avoided most of the striking with Wonder Boy. A lot of cage control, didn't do anything with it. But once he breaks his opponents down, once he finds something out, it's over. You know, Shavkat is it's like you ever see those police raid videos where the cops knock on the door and the second the person answers and opens it this much to just peek their eye through, the cops just kick the door wide open? That's Shavkat. You open the door for that dude just a little bit in any realm, whether it be striking. Look at that spinning wheel kick he hit on Carlston Harris. Or in this situation, you expose yourself just a hair and the dude's kicking the door open and taking it. It's as an MMA fan, it's almost unfortunate, and I hate to say this, but it's almost unfortunate that someone like Bilal is lingering in this division right now, and it has been so openly loud about wanting his title fight and wanting this rematch with Leon Edwards that, we'd all probably rather see Shavkat fight for a title, unless you're a Bilal Muhammad fan or you're someone in his family or something like that. And this is not, I'm not here to bash Bilal Muhammad. It just is what it is. You got a guy that's got 18 wins, 18 finishes. All of these finishes come in very different ways. Bilal Muhammad knocked out Sean Brady. This dude went to war with Jeff Neal and squeezed his head off with a bulldog choke. Went out there and just submitted Wonder Boy. Like, both of these guys are beating legit dudes. I think the UFC may try to make a Shavkat versus Leon Edwards fight at UFC 300. I really think that they do try to make that. Maybe Shavkat came out and said he had an ankle injury last minute and he had to change his game plan for this fight. That could also explain, of course, Laura Sanko broke that story. He was quick to chat with Laura. But he stated that he had an ankle injury and he almost pulled out of this fight. So that's even more impressive. And shout out to him, being able to change and just come up with a different game plan on such short notice. He should probably just wait for a title fight, but he might also want to stay active. And there's not really many people available. Like Gilbert Burns is fighting way back in the rankings. He's fighting Jack Della Maddalena. I don't see Kamaru Usman. Maybe Usman's calling for a rematch with Hamzat, which means he wants to fight at 85 again. I don't see Usman taking a Shavkat fight. Not saying that Usman is avoiding him or anything like that. He's Kamaru Usman, dude's a killer. And I don't see many other welterweights lining up to fight Shavkat unless it's someone way back in the rankings that's being gifted an opportunity. Ian Gary just got matched with Jeff Neal for that UFC card in Miami. Kevin Holland just got matched against MVP. Those are going to be dope fights. But yeah, I don't think Shavkat's fighting any of those dudes. I think Shavkat should fight the winner of Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards, regardless of the outcome of that fight, or himself fight for a title shot. And I actually do like Wonder Boy fighting Colby Covington. Colby's not a dude that's going to go out there and lay a ton of concussive blows on Wonderboy. And if Colby fights the same way he did this past Saturday against Wonderboy, he might have some problems. Yeah, interesting. Sucks for Wonderboy. The dude finally walked out with Jack Black and Tenacious D, and they picked the wrong fight for him to do that. Uh, and now that Vicente Luque is no longer fighting Ian Gary, I know that they were training partners, and I know they're training partners, so I hope it doesn't happen. But if anyone's listening, please do not make Shavkat versus Vicente Luque. I don't want to see Vicente go through that. Great win for Shavkat. Sucks for Wonderboy. It's a fight game. He's 40. Let's make an old man's fight. Colby Wonderboy. Give Shavkat a title fight or a title eliminator or the next title. On to the somber moment of this card. Tony Ferguson, Paddy Pimblett. Tony lost. 7th loss in a row. Looked good for about 30 seconds. David Goggins in his corner. This kind of sucks. On social media, a lot of people I know that are just super MMA casuals are sharing stuff about Paddy. So clearly he's touched the casual fan base. Anyone that knows anything about MMA, I don't think they like this dude. I don't think they think he's good. And I might agree with you. He gassed out bad in the third round. Sorry, and Tony was having tons of success until he got a takedown. Tony is just way too willing. I mean, his 10th planet style at his age in this division, he's recessed. Tony's done. He's a shot fighter. He's old. He's tried 7 times to convince himself he's not old anymore. And through the whole process, 2 things have happened. He's lost every time and he's gotten older every time. Tony mentally, his mind is always going to think he can be a world champion. If you ask Tony Ferguson, he'd take a fight with Islam Makhachev tomorrow. If you'd ask him to fight Khabib tomorrow, he'd fight Khabib tomorrow. We all know what would happen to him if he took those fights today. And even in his prime, we probably know what would have happened to him. But he got buzzed on the feet. It's not just his chin. He's always relied on his chin. But Paddy just seems so much faster in the exchanges in the pocket. Paddy's throwing these 3-4 punch combinations with his head just straight up in the air. Tony throws 1 punch, catches Paddy clean, and Paddy just hits him with a 4 to 5 punch combination and rings his bell because he's just so much faster. Tony can't deal with the speed of these young fighters anymore. His durability's gone. He had some potentially compromising positions where he almost, he almost had a triangle in this fight. He was going for an arm bar, but like in 2023, being a scrambly active guard player that's old and just gets shit kicked isn't going to work at 155. Ask Paul Craig how that type of style works. And Tony was never a guy that was unpenetrable. In his whole run, his major win streak, the dude got buzzed and hurt in every fight. Go watch the tape. These weren't flawless victories. The dude had to go to war over and over again. And eventually, I mean, it's just like an old piece of shit car driving down the street. Like things just start flying off. And, it's all of those things plus Tony's running out of gas. This is sad. I don't want to tell people to quit their jobs. I don't want to tell people to retire. But he's already shown signs of mental health issues and guys like that. And we're going to talk about it in the next fight. Guys that are a little crazy that get punched in the head a lot. It's not always good. Yeah, sucks for Tony. 7th loss in a row. He ties BJ Penn. It's crazy that these legends at 155. BJ Penn is an absolute legend. Tony Ferguson, absolute legend. And to see these dudes go on these losing streaks, like it's just like it's hard to watch. It's hard to see. No, it doesn't bring a tear to my eye, but like, man, it's close. I was never a big Tony fan and never the hugest BJ Penn fan, but I understand the impact that these dudes have made in the MMA world. I understand, the crowd popping for Tony. People love Tony. They booed Paddy and they cheered Tony. People still love Tony. But when you love things, you got to let them go. We got to let Tony go. He's got to retire. It's just too much. And they didn't give him any softballs, no slow pitches. He should have been fighting someone like Luigi Vendramini or someone that's just like not gonna kill him. No more matchmaking for Tony. I'm done. Paddy Pimblett. Let's give him. They're not going to give him someone like Terrence McKinney. He's too dangerous. Paddy Pimblett is still extremely flawed. The only thing I liked about him in this fight was he looked huge, but his striking defense is still terrible. He's a good grappler. He's a decent grappler. He's a pretty good topside grappler. Has pretty good takedowns. He's got good control. His gas tank looked like shit here. He gassed out. He 10-8, got a 10-8 round against Tony in the first round. Clearly won the second, and then just gassed out. Like, gassing out while you're winning a fight by those margins is not a good look, because what happens when you have to play the nail? If you gas out playing the hammer and you get stuck playing the nail, you could be potentially fucked. But yeah, give him. I just don't think they're going to give him anyone risky. They're probably going to give him someone like Joe Selecki, but give him UFC 300 Jim Miller. If you want to make names off of this guy, give him Jim Miller. Jim Miller still has some fight in him. Jim Miller is a dangerous opponent. Give him Jim Miller. If not, maybe give him someone like Drakkar Klose or something like that. Not too curious to see what they do with Paddy, because they're just going to continue to slow roll this dude. They're going to give him an easy opponent in England his next time around. I'm just not seeing the gaps be closed by him. Someone that is undefeated. He may be like one of the most flawed fighters at this high of a level that has not taken a loss in the UFC yet. But shout out to his matchmaker. Shout out to his management. He's taking the right fights. He's taking them at the right time. Hell, he gets probably paid the same amount of money if he wins against Tony Ferguson or gets absolutely shit kicked by Justin Gaethje. Chael Sonnen once said, "You take the easiest fight for the most money." Moving on to the curtain jerker of UFC 296, the pay-per-view card, we had knockout of the year contender, a fight that I did pick that I did get right. Josh Emmett shoots Bryce Mitchell with a tranquilizer dart. In the first round, Josh Emmett might have landed 2 punches, but yeah, Josh Emmett said, "I'm the hardest punching 145er on the roster," and I'm not here to argue that. I thought maybe it was Ilia Topuria, but probably not. Josh Emmett at 38 years old looked fucking good here. Took this fight on short notice. Bryce Mitchell stepped up. He was replacing Giga Chikadze. Giga Chikadze, a kickboxer. Bryce Mitchell, a high pressure, high pace topside grappler with decent striking and a good kicking game. Yeah, you don't make mistakes at the edge of striking range, in the pocket, entering the pocket. You don't step into the pocket with Josh Emmett and your hands not planted. You just don't willy-nilly step into the pocket with Josh Emmett. Bryce stepped into the pocket. It wasn't even a counterpunch. Josh Emmett just timed the most beautiful overhand right. Bryce Mitchell was like seizing. It was bad. One shot. I mean, just Josh Emmett's like 5'7", 5'6", 145. The dude is nuclear. At 38 years old, they say power is the last thing to go. Well, guess what? This dude's fucking timing, his power, still here. If you're a 145er, watch the fuck out. Ask Ricardo Lamas, even though that was a left hook that got him, overhand left hook. Ask Michael Johnson about that overhand. Now you can ask Bryce Mitchell. The way I saw this fight was, well, Dan Ige is really similar to Josh Emmett, but I think Josh Emmett's a better defensive wrestler and he hits harder. And Dan Ige landed lots of damaging punches against Bryce Mitchell, and Josh Emmett only needs to do it once, and he could really end things. Well, that was it. You're like, we're standing. And I usually don't agree with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan becomes a freaking doctor anytime someone's hurt. But like, why are they letting him stand? The commission's like standing around him, holding him up. He looked like a deer fawn on wobbly legs. Don't know what the commission was doing that for. Don't know why they let him continue to stand up. Get the dude a stool. Keep him on the ground. That's how you blow a knee up. If you just faint, pass out, blow your leg up. But this knockout, I mean, we're submitting our of the year awards, our yearly awards for Sherdog.com. And yeah, this got promoted straight to knockout of the year for me. Jesus Pinedo with that knee over Brendan Loughnane was really awesome too. But this here, it's just a one-shot walk-off. Josh Emmett did not follow up. He just kind of leaned over and went, ah, and then just backed up. He kind of realized what he was doing and just backed out. Bryce Mitchell said, thank you. He posted a video. He's been posting videos. He said he knows what he did wrong, blah, 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 whatever. He also thanked Josh Emmett for not landing any follow-up shots. He's like, that could have killed me. Yeah, could have, bro. When Bryce Mitchell loses, he loses hard. And being a wrestle boxer with good boxing and good power is probably just going to always be a problem for Bryce Mitchell. Dudes like Ilia Topuria, dudes like Josh Emmett that can defend a takedown, or just you make one mistake in front of it and they freaking just light you on fire. And that's what Josh Emmett did. Yeah. And people were picking Bryce Mitchell going into this fight. They were like, well, Yair Rodriguez submitted Josh Emmett. Yeah, it's because he made Josh Emmett very desperate. Bryce didn't do anything to make Josh Emmett desperate and got absolutely tranquilized for it. Nuclear power. Incredible performance from Josh Emmett. Rebook the Giga Chikadze fight. That makes the most sense. Or maybe have Josh Emmett fight Brian Ortega. Ortega is not fighting anybody, and he is someone listening to this, has there ever been a UFC fighter in modern MMA history, in modern UFC history, to just hold on to a ranking and be super inactive and be very inactive through the whole thing? Brian Ortega shouldn't even be in the rankings, in my opinion. Dude's not fighting anybody, even though he is rebooked to fight Yair Rodriguez. I think Josh Emmett should just fight Brian Ortega regardless of the outcome of that fight. If Ortega beats Yair, maybe he's in the midst for another title fight. Based off of the very short bit we got from Yair and Ortega, I think Ortega's going to lose that fight. So I think Josh Emmett versus Ortega makes a lot of sense. And shout out to Josh Emmett. You just probably solidified yourself to win the Sherdog MMA knockout of the year. And just to wrap up the rest of the card, this card was pretty fun. The prelims are pretty dope. Tigir Ulanbekov just went out there and kind of shit kicked Cody Durden. Shamil Gaziev just destroys Martin Buday with a vicious standing TKO. That was dope. Cody Garbrandt is back with a vicious knockout of Brian Kelleher. Ariane Lipski, Casey O'Neill on her return. Ariane Lipski went out there and just shit kicked her. Hit her with straight punches. Casey O'Neill is finally learning, hey, at the highest level, I can't just be a fighter that recklessly moves forward with not a lot of power and has a lot of volume. I don't have the best grappling game at 125. It's kind of a rude awakening for her. Dustin Jacoby and Alonzo Menefield. That was a fun fight. Great fight. Jacoby won like 80% of the striking exchanges, but Menefield was able to just club him, pull the hat trick out over and over again. I do really want to talk about Irene Aldana and Carol Hossa. Probably just got fight of the year at women's bantamweight. Aldana doesn't know how to do that. And Carol Hossa just crushing the kicks over and over again. It was really, really awesome. Andre Fili with one of the better knockouts. That right hand he hit Lucas Almeida with, it sounded like someone hitting a heavy bag with a baseball bat. Snapped his head back. Like, incredible. His teammate Josh Emmett kind of stole all his thunder with that impressive knockout. All of the Uriah Faber guys all had good wins. This card was pretty fun. A little bit of a snoozer with the main and co-main, but whatever. It is what it is. It's still high level MMA. We love it here. Uh, that's gonna be the show, guys, gals. Thank you so much for tuning in. I put the Christmas themed lights on. If you don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. No show next week. Um, it's going to be Christmas is Monday. I record on Mondays. Love all you guys to death. I'm not going to record a show on Christmas. I'll be with my family. I hope all of you guys are with yours. Um, Reach out to me, social media. That's it on Instagram and Twitter. Shoot me a message. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I appreciate all you guys so much for tuning in. 2023 was a hell of a year. Be ready for 2024. Looks like the UFC's got some fire cooking, along with a lot of these other promotions. We got a bunch of shows coming up for Sherdog. I'm going to try to do some sort of year-end show, maybe with Ben and Keith and a couple other guys from Sherdog. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and enjoy the holidays.